Howdy y'all, and welcome to a new video. So back in, I don't know, February, March, I made a video called Study Anatomy with me. Did I really teach anything in that video? I don't think so, not really. But it seemed as though you guys enjoyed that concept of just studying art with me, so I thought I'd come back to it. Actually, I want to redeem myself because the audio in that video peaked and I'm so tight that it was really successful despite the horrible audio. Anyways, I'll leave a list of all the materials that I used in the description down below. Maybe. So I wouldn't say I'm the master of drawing heads, but I can definitely get away with doing them alright. But don't be asking me to do them in angles because I'm still trying to learn that myself. You never stop learning as an artist. It's great. Also, take note that this is personally how I draw, so if you have a particular style you're trying to abide from, also I will be talking out of my bum without any structure throughout this whole video, so if I keep getting sidetracked or if I'm just moving all around the place, well, now you know. This is how I talk regularly anyways. As the same with the last video, I started off sketching the basic shapes of the head with a red pencil. Then I got more into detail with the blue pencil. Once I finalized where everything went, I would just finalize with a pen. Usually though, I would just immediately go ahead with the pen. But for a better understanding, I'll add sketches just for y'all. So the first head I did, I would say was just a warm-up, but then after it progressively got better. Kind of. When starting off with a head, you're going to want to begin with a circle. And then pinpoint where the middle of the face is going to be by just drawing a big stroke in the middle. Or depending on the angle of the head. As for this second sketch, it is mostly a side view, so the line is almost going to the edge of the circle, but not quite. I'd like to begin at the forehead and quickly sketch out the shape of the head. First, starting out with the indent of the eyebrow line. The thing with the skull, you kind of have this like hole around your eyes, you know, for your eyeballs. So the brow is protruding since underneath is sinking, if that makes sense. Look at a skull. Just Google a skull. Here, I'll put a picture of a skull like right now. Then I just make quick strokes for the nose and mouth. I feel as though many of you peeps struggle with side profiles since sometimes it tends to look flat without giving the face as much dimension as it should. Or there's too much dimension and it ends up looking too disproportionate from other parts of the face. This is going to be annoying as fuck for me to say, but try to study more side views and keeping at your normal angles. I know I am a culprit of doing 3/4 angle or side angles. I never really do frontal view, and I refrain from ever doing any type of angles where it's foreshortening the face. So I do have to work on that definitely, and I am working on it. But as for now, I just have the same face angle syndrome. That makes sense. It reminds me of this one anime. I think it was called, I don't remember what it was called, but it was an anime about this guy who wanted to become a manga illustrator, and then there was this one guy who was like, he doesn't even draw that good, but yet that guy, his like competitor or like his classmate, could only draw one angle of faces. That's all he could do. Really good, but only one angle. What good is drawing one angle if it's the only thing you can draw? You have to branch out and work on more. Challenge yourself. Don't stay at your comfortability. It's just hard to tell you how to draw something than actually just doing it. So do it. Anyways, moving on to the chin jaw area. Some tend to separate the head and neck by adding one huge ass line with no distinction of a connection between. I do this too, but I always do shading underneath the line so it can show that, you know, the face is protruding out, but you know, it's still like a 2D illustration. I don't know what it does. It make sense what I'm saying? I don't know. Depending on the lighting, especially of the face or the way it is angled. However, when the head tends to move up, you see the connection more prevalent. It's then you take advantage of your usage of line work to connect the two. By doing so, I would limit where you shade or add a portion of the line, just so you can tell that, hey, this part of the body or this part of the head is connected to this other part of the body, aka the neck, because then it would begin to look weird when the head is being tilted up. As I did with the third sketch, if I had left an opening under his chin, then mayhaps it would have looked like he was stretching out that portion of his neck rather than it just him looking straight ahead. Although it is angled, a little bit more upward, it still could have made it look more realistic. When adding ears to your head, you'll want to start where the eyebrows are and where the nose ends, just so it is proportionate to the rest of the head. But you know, people are different. Some people have bigger ears, some have smaller ears, and that's okay. As for the hair, you have to mark where the hairline will begin. Usually it will be on top of the circle that you would mark it, and then you'd begin to draw the hair with volume. And if you didn't know what volume is, go watch one of those hair commercials, or look at V from BTS's hair. Homie got hella volume. So when you're beginning that hair, you're going to want to swoop it up, which is the volume part, and then do quick gestured lines for each strand you will draw. You don't have to draw strand by strand. That's a lot of fucking work. Just quickly do lines and just go from there. Of course, there are things to keep in mind with straight hair, frizzy hair, curly hair, wet hair. There's different types of textures with hair, even hair that has product in it. But if you're trying to add floof to the hair, you're going to want to add as much hair motion as possible in different directions and add more volume. The more volume you get, the more floofier it will look. I noticed as I was doing these sketches that I didn't take into account the angles for each of them. So some of them just look like he has mad volume, or he just has a 5 head. Regardless, keep into mind where the top of the head begins to show. If it's a frontal view, then you won't have to worry about that. It's just going to be the front view. But if the head is going down, then obviously you're going to see more of the top of the head. Try to think of the head as also 3-dimensional box. Tilt that box in a certain way and then draw the circle and all these thingies. You'll begin to, start drawing the hairline, whatever you call it. What are the scalp? Well, wherever the hairline is what I mean, and just go from there. Also, if you haven't noticed by now, I have been adding mini notes for myself to look back on, so I know what I can work on for my next study practice. I don't know about you, but it makes my sketchbook look kind of cool, but also chaotic, but the cool kind of chaotic. Another problem y'all said you had trouble with was the neck. Coming from a side angle, the neck will end around the back of the ear and begin somewhat around the start of the eye. I'm talking out of my ass, but looking at the sketches that I've done so far, that's what it looks like to me. But of course you can look at other references and pinpoint from there. As for men, they do have the Adam's apple, which is one thing I'm weirdly attracted to. The more it protrudes out, the more I'm like, shoddy please. So I always tend to draw that Adam apple like hella pointy, really out there, particularly with side profiles. When in frontal view, I would just, draw a shadow or a little triangle to represent the Adam's apple. There is always that other line that you make on the neck where the muscle is located. I looked this up earlier just so I could have the proper term, but to say that I can pronounce it correctly is a whole nother topic. It's called the sternocleidomastoid. As you stretch your neck, you see the muscle more. The best tip I can give about drawing the neck in a front view is drawing the line a little angled out. Like angled, do you get what I'm saying? It's like a cone, so the tip of the cone is going to be like thinner, right? And then as you go down, it'll be more outward, where the bottom of the neck will be a little more wider. As you finish along the line of the neck, create another line that will represent the trapezius. It's the muscle in the back of your neck that also I'm really weirdly attracted to in men, because it pops out more, but it's also prominent in women depending on how much you work out. Anyways, this part of the muscle will help you make it look like you're not just drawing the neck straight down to the shoulders, but rather you are morphing it into it, if that makes sense. I don't know. Now I'm just gonna try to give quick tips about individual parts of the face. First are the eyes. The distance between the two is the length of one eye. If you put a third eye in the middle of the two eyes, that is the distance that it should be at. Another tip is limit the detail in the eye at the beginning. I know you want to go all out with drawing all the details, but the faster you work, the more you'll understand the shape of it. You get what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to like a side angle, third eye angle, third 3/4 angle. Of course, it's not going to be like head on, so sometimes you'll make that like, what do you call it, like eyelash line, but then you have to add like this little thing. It doesn't make sense when I say it, you just have to try. I show it a bit in the eye sketch that I did. Third is drawing a preliminary line so that they are aligned and the same. I noticed that a lot of y'all said that you can't like your eyes are not the same. One is really farther from the other, right? One is more up and the other one's more down. So the best tip I could give for that is to just fucking draw a straight line and then abide from that preliminary line. That's as much as I could say. Then the last thing that you guys really struggle with is being symmetrical. So here's one thing that I will say. Think about this. This is the thing about this, is that when something is symmetrical, it tends to look weird and boring. Keeping it asymmetrical will prevent this from happening. But if it is super asymmetrical, work quickly. Don't spend too quickly on one eye, because then you're going to be engrossed. Is that the right word? You're gonna have to work on the other eye, like let's say 20 minutes later, and then you're just like, oh shit, how did I do this eye? I don't remember. I did it 20 minutes ago. Work on the sketch first quickly. Make sure that everything is aligned. But I will say that, faces aren't really symmetrical. For example, take into account for Taehyung. I will use Taehyung with every opportunity that I can get. But he has, one of his eyes has a monolid and the other one doesn't. But he's still beautiful. Why? Because asymmetry is fucking sexy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So don't get too fixated if one eye doesn't look exactly the same. But as long as you can still make it look good, then fuck it. Symmetry doesn't matter. Also, don't do that symmetry shit on like Procreate. You're cheating your way out. But during this process, just be head empty. No thoughts. Just work on it quickly, of course, and then go back to it when you got all the preliminary down. Next, we're gonna get into the mouth. First tip is starting off with a straight line, and then put a circle on top, and then 2 circles on the bottom. And then, the best thing I could say is to not draw the outline around the mouth. I see this so much, and of course it depends on your drawing style. If you do that, then sure, go for it. But if you feel like your illustrations still lack, or if you're trying to make it more like semi-realistic and more 3-dimensional, then I would recommend not drawing outside of the lines. Don't even like regard it. If anything, as I do a little bit of like a little U on top of the lip and then a little N on the bottom, just so like just very subtly. But usually what I do is I'll shade whatever I need in order to make that line. You don't really need line work to show that this particular shape of the lip or object. You can honestly just do that with coloring, shading, what you have it, and yeah. You can of course use line work up though, but just keep in mind of, how it'll end up. Another tip, this is just me, but I really learned to draw lips. I really learned to draw lips by drawing not Taehyung, but Jimin from BTS. Now listen, his lips, Google him right now. You don't have to Google it. I'll pop it in right here. His lips are so juicy. They're so plumpy. I love him so much. And like the lipstick that he they put on him. Ooh, anyways, great references. Look into K-pop idols' lips. They're always beautiful, and there's variations. Of course, like I said, I used to draw like a lot of BTS fan art, so I mostly drew the members' lips. I mean, of course them as well, but like just to differentiate like which member was which. And yeah, just draw lips, bro. Like the best you can do is just keep practicing and go from there. But I swear to God, if I see one drawing that any of y'all send me and the lips are outlined, I will square up. Next is the nose. You're gonna want to make it into a triangle or not. But I usually start with a circle at the tip of the nose, the bridge, the bottom bridge, the bridge, the end of the bridge, I don't know, of the nose. And then, draw like little specks of the nostrils on the bottom. I choked on my saliva. And then, I don't really like to outline the nose. Another thing that I've seen a lot throughout my lifetime, which is like not wrong, everyone's learning, and if it's your style, then fuck it, it's your style. But it is when you just outline the nose and it just looks like a wiener, like a hot dog, like a ding-a-ling. because you just outline the, you know, the flare of the what is it, the flare, not the bridge, but like the round part of the nose, your nostrils, not the nostrils, but the outside of the nostrils, a little like plumpiness to the side of the noses. And then they just draw the bridge of the nose. They just outline the whole bridge of the nose, and I'm just like, and then they connect it to the eyebrows, and I'm like, this is not how you do it. Stop outlining. Just shade. And then for the darker parts or the harder parts, like the cartilage of the nose, which is the bridge, just a wee bit, then you outline that bit. Mostly I outline the bottom of the bridge just to like accentuate the bridge. Is that a word? Am I saying the word wrong? Anyways, that was my little rant on more outlining of objects, parts of the face that you should not outline like that. Another thing, this is like if you're like using a pencil or, you know, you're drawing digitally, but if you want to like shade certain parts of the nose, then I would totally go for, or like add blush, definitely go for the beginning of the nose, mostly because, or not the beginning, the bottom of the circle, the bottom of the bridge, because that's the cartilage. So the bone parts are always going to be a little more tender and more red. Like take for example with your hands, you see the knuckles that has like kind of like a red tone to it, because it's like, I don't really know the reason, but that's what I learned in art school, and that's what I learned while studying faces and bones and muscles and whatnot. I will say though, one book that I highly recommend for y'all to get, if this definitely didn't help you, which I hope this video doesn't help you. I'm just vibing here. We're drawing together. I'm just your peer, okay? I know nothing. I like to tell myself that I'm a freelance illustrator, but truly, I'm not that great. But I will recommend one book called Figure Drawing by Michael Hampton. This book was recommended to me by an animator that I met at Blue Sky Studios. And sometimes I'll look back at it from once in a while. Like I literally looked back on it just to look up that like muscle that I mentioned earlier that was really fucking long, sternocleidomastoid, I don't fucking know. And then the trapezius, I still don't know how to say that word either. Damn, am I dumb? Anyways, highly recommend that book. It, you know, breaks down the parts of the body for you, but not too much where you get like overwhelmed. Take it one step at a time, but I highly recommend getting that book. Last thing is the ears. There's not much to it. The only thing I can really say is to just like shade for like the more tender, redder parts, is to shade the top of the ear, because the main reason to this is that's where your cartilage is. But I think majority of your ear is cartilage, now that I think about it. Listen, I am no doctor, I am no nurse, I did not study anatomy great in school. I had one anatomy class and we drew muscles. Do I remember it? No. All I know is the trapezius, anyways, or the clavicle. I don't know why I remember the clavicle, but I fucking love saying clavicle. That is all I have to say for this video. I did not intend to speak as much as I just did, especially since I like half-assed it throughout half of the video. But yeah, let me know if there are any other problems that you still suffer with heads, and I will not respond to you most likely because I am a lazy bitch and it takes a lot of effort for me to answer every comment. But maybe I will make a better video about drawing heads. And yeah, as for now, I will see you in the next video, and keep drawing those heads. Don't stop. Just keep drawing them. Never stop. Don't quit. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.